Hello and welcome to a quick video about how I built my diorama entitled The Biggest and the Smallest. This scene depicts a Brachiosaurus, one of the biggest dinosaurs to ever live, with a couple of really small dinosaurs, set in a forest diorama in the late Jurassic period. I used Tamiya's 1/35th scale Brachiosaurus kit and a couple of small dinosaurs from their Mesozoic creature set. The idea behind the diorama is to show the big difference in size between the huge Brachiosaurus and the much smaller dinosaurs. I also wanted to try my hand at some new, well at least new to me, diorama techniques and products, like making tall conifer-style trees basically from scratch, trying some of the different foliage products that have come out recently, and playing around with clear epoxy resin to create some water effects. For the base, I used a 12 by 24 inch Woodland Scenics foam base that I shaped with a saw. I applied a rough coat of plaster and then added footprints using one of the model's feet. I then coated the base with a 50-50 mixture of white glue and water and sprinkled sand over the whole thing. The ground was then painted using a mix of Tamiya spray paints, TS90 brown and AS15 tan. Time to start the trees. For the trunks, I used wood dowels, 3/8 and 1/2 inch in diameter, cut to different lengths, about 15 inches or so. I tried to taper the trunks with my bench grinder and then brushed white glue onto them and sprinkled sawdust to create a bark effect. I then painted them with craft paints, basically neutral gray and a reddish brown. For the pine branches, I used plumosa fern branches that I'd bought from a couple different places online. I drilled small holes into the tree trunks and glued them in place with white glue. I put a finishing nail into the bottom of each tree and then stuck the trees into the base. I then shaped pieces of baling wire to create roots. Some modeling clay was formed over the wires to fill out the roots, and once they were dry, I used the 50-50 mix of water and white glue to attach sawdust to them. They were then painted in the same colors as the trunks. A spare trunk I had left over was broken in two and added to look like a fallen tree. At that point, it was time to move on to the ground cover. I used AK Interactive's dried seagrass, which has a nice sort of forest floor look to it, and put it under all of the trees and pretty much everywhere. I then started adding ferns from AK's fern set. These are really neat products, and no, I don't have any ties to AK. They come on sort of a fabric-y paper, so I painted them with different greens and yellows. They are laser cut and really capture the shape of ferns nicely, and they work well in this scale. To create a moss effect, I used Woodland Scenics coarse turf pretty much straight out of the package and glued it onto the stumps and fallen log. I wanted a small pond to fill up a corner of the base, so it was time for some clear epoxy resin. I prepped the area with some ground cover and some reeds cut from some cheap aquarium plants, and then dammed it off with Tamiya tape. This is the brand I use, purchased from Amazon, and it claims it can handle deep pours, though I doubt I'm ever going to pour anything that deep. I mixed up the first batch, tinted it with a drop of green paint, and poured it in. Now, I've played with this stuff in the past, and it is an escape artist. It will creep up and over the edges of your tape and generally find any little gaps to squeeze through. Luckily, the first pour went well, so I gave it a couple of days to dry and then added the second layer. Sure enough, a couple of drips appeared, but I escaped having my workbench turn into a Superfund site. After a couple of days, I've removed the tape and painted the edges with Tamiya's clear XF86. I sculpted some waves using Liquitex gloss gel medium and added some lily pads that I cut from construction paper. Alright, full disclosure, I've built all of Tamiya's dinosaurs over the years, and they are great kits. The Brachiosaurus in 1/35th scale stands about 19 inches tall, so it's a big model. Once it was built, I primed it with Tamiya AS15 tan, then sprayed Tamiya XF53 neutral gray on the upper parts. I darkened that with a couple of drops of black and added some more splotches. The whole model was then sprayed with Tamiya's clear gloss TS13, which helped with the next step. To add depth to the model, I used MIG ammo oil brushers. I applied dust on the dark areas and Starship sludge on the lighter areas. These acted as washes that sank into the wrinkles and added contrast to the model. I flat coated the whole model with Tamiya Flat Spray TS80 and then painted the mouth and eyes. The two small dinos are from the Tamiya Mesozoic Creatures kit that I painted in greens and beiges. They are guarding the eggs in their nest made of tiny pebbles from my yard. I added the frog from the Tamiya Triceratops kit and a lizard from a dragon German soldiers set that I had in my spares box. Just goes to show, don't throw anything away. The pterodactyls are from the Tamiya Parasaurolophus kit. I attached a piece of baling wire to each one to act as a branch to connect them to the tree. They were painted in Tamiya XF10 brown with a squiggle pattern of Tamiya XF76 gray-green and some yellow-orange highlights on their beaks. It was finally time to put it all together. For the pterodactyls, I painted the wires brown and glued on some of the plumosa ferns to make them look like tree branches. The wires were glued into the trees, making the pterodactyls look like they're flying. The smaller dinosaurs were glued in place with CA glue, and the Brachiosaurus was put into position, and with that, the diorama was complete. I'll end the video with some images of the final diorama. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video informative and interesting. I had a lot of fun making it, and it's inspired me to work on another dinosaur diorama, this time featuring, well, you'll have to watch to the very end. Thanks and happy modeling.